Hello, my name is John McGran, and I am a commissioner serving on the Lancaster Home Rule Commission. And I'm joined today by a fellow commissioner, Maxine Cook, and we are going to lead you through a presentation about home rule and home rule for the city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We're going to start with some information on the basics of home rule. A lot of people have questions about what home rule is, and what home rule is an opportunity for the commissioners who are serving in this role to draft a constitution for the city, or draft a charter for the city that'll serve as the city's constitution. The home rule charter will mean that our city will have the basic authority to act in local affairs. And what we'd be doing is transferring this power from state government to local government. And really, one simple way to think about this is home rule is literally making the rules at home. One of the questions that comes up pretty frequently is, how often has this been done? Where else in Pennsylvania have home rule charters been adopted? This map gives you a good sense of that. There are 82 cities, townships, and boroughs in the Commonwealth with home rule charters. And out of cities Lancaster's class, there are 56 of those in the state of Pennsylvania, and 26 of them have already adopted home rule charters. Throughout this map, you're seeing not just third-class cities, but also seeing counties, townships, and boroughs, all of which have also adopted home rule charters. One of the other questions that often comes up is, why would a municipality consider home rule? There are a lot of reasons that a municipality might consider this. A few of the things that seem most relevant to Lancaster are gaining some flexibility in taxation, gaining flexibility with representation, creating more checks and balances, and improving the accountability within the way city government functions, especially between the executive branch, which is typically the mayor's office, and the legislative branch, which is typically city council. It does give us an opportunity to improve our fiscal procedures and controls. And within the home rule process, there's an opportunity to increase citizen participation through voter initiatives and citizen referendums. And now I'm going to turn things over to my fellow commissioner, Maxine Cook, and she's going to lead us through the next few slides.
Hello. So the commission, as you may know, is made up of 9 city residents. Some of us grew up here, others moved to Lancaster City. We each bring unique skills and perspective to the commission. We have worked cooperatively, thoughtfully, with respect and consideration for one another, the process, and for our community. If you note in this slide, the person standing beside me to my right is Jody Richardson, the Honorable District Magistrate Jody Richardson. She swore all of us in. If other commissioners are in the room here today, we ask them to raise their hand, but they're not here. It's just John and I today. So, what work has the Home Rule Study Commission completed? Well, as you may know, when we were elected in 2023, we started the very next month. So the work we've completed includes studying our current form of government. That took place between late June 2023 through January 2024. In January, we voted to proceed and draft a charter, meaning we started to write what a home rule charter would look like according to all the things that we learned and compared to the current city constitution. The vote was a majority to proceed with writing a charter with only one nay vote. At the voting meeting, commissioners expressed different reasons for their vote to proceed. And they included things like improving public participation, which was pretty much at the top of the list, strengthening the city's financial procedures, another thing uh, at the top of the list, considering a code of conduct, and taking back control from state government. The next steps for the Home Rule Charter will be that over the next several months, we will meet twice a month. And we will hold subcommittee meetings that provide time for deliberations, which are public, and research as we draft the charter. We expect the draft to be complete by midsummer. So during this time, we will increase basic education about what home rule is through events like this one, the recorded message, adding information to the webpage, the City of Lancaster webpage, with the home rule study page within that. We're sending emails to city residents who opt in to receive them and showing up at public events throughout the city. One most recently being the African American Alliance Cultural Fair and Parade. And John, I think you have an example of one of the events that you attended. Which one was that?
I was at the Sixth Ward Park, the mayor's month-long during as part of the mayor's month-long process of visiting neighborhoods in Lancaster. I was able to participate in an event at the Sixth Ward Park.
Right.
And
So,
I also was down there we also had a great day at the city's Open Streets event. It was a beautiful Sunday afternoon, and we got to meet with many city residents who were enjoying a nice day walking up and down Water Street in Lancaster.
okay. So, and in addition to this, we have additional events coming up. So we want to educate the public. So we'll continue to attend community events. So when the draft is complete, we anticipate holding a series of public forums, which will inform the city residents of the final version of the charter. Educating the public will continue through the entire process. Lancaster City voters will make the decision to adopt that charter or to not adopt the charter. A charter is made up of 6 basic components. A general grant of powers to the local government is one. The basic organization of government, specifics for legislation and administrative procedures, providing the citizen participation and reservation of specific powers to the voters, mandates for administrative practices, and transition procedures and the effective date of the charter. John? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Back to me. I'm sorry.
For one more. Yeah.
So there are some home rule charter limitations. While it gives us more control and is like a constitution, it can't ignore the PA and US Constitution. So examples are things like the Pennsylvania boundary change law. We can't just decide to annex Lancaster Township. Clean streams. Lancaster can't decide it's going to dump waste in a river. Collective bargaining. Lancaster must still engage in collective bargaining with its unions. If you get a question about if the charter can fix zoning, zoning is a uniform act, and a charter cannot change the terms of zoning or subdivision land use. But the city can always change its zoning laws under current state law. And the more public participation we have in going to our website, submitting questions via that site, the more information we can gather from you to take along with us as we that we can consider in drawing up the charter. John?
So one of the things that was most on the city's mind when city leadership activated the process of conducting a home rule study commission was related to revenue and taxes. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on that. There is a need in the city for increased tax flexibility, many people believe. And the reason for that is that the city of Lancaster and many cities in Pennsylvania rely on a mix of taxes authorized 60 or more years ago. All these taxes are either at a flat rate or capped at a maximum rate. And many of these taxes have not kept up with inflation. As a result, cities like Lancaster are limited in their ability to raise additional revenue in the face of rising expenditures. The bigger point here is that many of these taxes, the city's largest source of revenue is property tax. And property tax is a very stable tax, but it does not grow at a rate that's consistent with inflation and the rising costs of operating the city. All right. So, we also hear a lot of questions about the potential benefits of earned income tax flexibility, and there's important things to understand with this. First, earned income tax is not paid by anyone who's retired and not paid by anyone who is not earning wages. Also, when the only tax or the primary tax that's available to the city is property tax, increases in property taxes can trigger concerns over rising property taxes for homeowners and renters alike. And it's important to understand that higher costs from increased property taxes affect housing affordability because in most cases, whether you're paying property taxes on property that you own or whether you're a tenant and paying rent, even in the case of a tenant paying rent, most often their landlord is going to incorporate property tax increases into the rent that they charge to their tenants. And I'm going to talk for a minute about why it's important to gain this flexibility to maintain our existing service levels. First of all, it's important to know that Lancaster is a full service community. And what that means is that we have a fully staffed, paid police department and fire department. These police and fire departments provide 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week service for all city residents, all businesses, and as well as the commuters who work in our city. Public safety, fire and police, accounts for approximately 60% of the city's general fund budget. And it's important to note that there's a close alignment between what it costs to provide police and fire safety and the amount of money that the city collects in property tax alone. The benefit of gaining flexibility is that home rule could provide more flexible revenue options for elected officials to ensure that these public safety services are maintained and that other important services that city residents rely on continue to be offered. Now I'm going to talk about just a few myths versus reality with regard to home rule. First, as I said a few minutes ago, some people believe that the home rule charter will raise taxes, and that is not necessarily true. The home rule charter does not set tax rates. All the home rule charter does is provide local flexibility on the mix of taxes, and future elected officials, elected city council people and elected mayors, will collaborate to set the tax rates. Another myth is that this home rule charter will give the city freedom to tax whatever they like. And as mentioned a few minutes ago, the city cannot invent new taxes. The city can only use the taxes that are currently authorized by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And finally, there's a myth that the home rule charter will give the city freedom to raise taxes however high they like. And one of the things that we're talking about as a commission is our ability to place limits on revenue growth from future tax increases. Maxine, I'm going to turn it over to you for the last few slides.
So a huge, as stated earlier, one of the reasons some of the commissioners got involved in this process was for the public to be able to be involved in this process. So how can you get involved? Or how can the public just be involved? Please read the Home Rule website, which is listed at the bottom of this page. There are numerous education materials there. There are resources. There are meeting agendas. There are meeting minutes. Um, Attending a meeting in person at City Chamber or watching them online is something that you can do if you cannot make the meeting personally. We have been meeting, like I said, about twice a month. At each meeting, there are 2 opportunities for the public to comment. So before we start the meeting, we typically give the public time to comment and bring anything to the podium, to the commissioners. And then once we have our deliberations, we then open the floor again for the public to come back with any comments. All agendas, minutes, and materials that the commissioners have been reading or any resources that we have, that is exactly what's on the website. You also have an opportunity as the public, as a Lancaster City resident, to submit feedback or questions using the online form that is on this particular website. So on the web page, from the top left, on the web page, you'll find top level information about what home rule is and the purpose of the study commission. All of our agendas, meeting minutes, and materials, as mentioned, are here, including our subcommittee meeting minutes and agendas. So though there's 4 of them, there is the ethics subcommittee, the finance subcommittee, preamble subcommittee as part of the charter, and public engagement. And this particular presentation is part of our public engagement. Dates of upcoming meetings and events are also here. How can you participate? Again, additional resources include links to one-click links to all press coverage from Lancaster newspaper and One United. So those comments that are come from writers for Lancaster newspaper and One United from their attendance at our meetings, all of those, that's a link that's included, and all of those comments are there. All of those articles are there. A feedback form and the ability to opt in to receive emails from the commission is also part of this page. If you see at the bottom right, subscribe for updates from the Home Rule Study Commission. Coming soon as you will see now, is the recorded version of our presentation. If you have not received them yet, you should be receiving regular email communications with updates. They'll be posted as blog posts and shared out on the city social media, as well as on Instagram. The Home Rule Study Commission does have an Instagram page. It's HRSC for Home Rule Study Commission, Lancaster, PA. Please follow us on IG. And lastly, for me, we have a handout that folks can take with them. Wherever we are meeting, we have these handouts, which is shown on this page. This includes general information, the dates of our commission meetings, and even at the bottom right, you'll see a QR code that links back to the feedback form that you're able to fill out. So all you have to do with your phone, like you're taking a picture, is to scan the QR code, and that will bring up a link on your phone that when you click it, you go right to the feedback form. We look forward to hearing from you. John, turn it back to you.
Yep. And I'm just going to take a minute and recap some of the things that we touched on in this presentation. First and most importantly, We are working on a home rule charter, and this will serve as the constitution for the city of Lancaster rather than boilerplate state code. This proposed home rule charter is currently being defined by our commission. We expect to have our draft completed by midsummer. We will share this draft with the public, and we will welcome any feedback that the public has for us. And then the final action that will happen is that the draft charter that we develop goes to a vote by all the citizens of Lancaster at the general election on November 5th. The people who live in Lancaster, who vote in Lancaster, they are the people who make the final decision about the outcome of this charter. Our job is to develop a draft for them to consider, and they have the final vote on November 5th at the general election. If you have questions, please go to the feedback form and send us your questions there, or come to any of our public meetings and make a public comment to ask your questions to the full commission. Thanks for taking a few minutes to watch this presentation, and we hope to hear from you as we proceed with our work.
I'd like to add before we close that if you are not a registered voter and you are a Lancaster City resident, please do register to vote. Thank you and take care.
Thank you, everyone.